Hello and welcome to another guide. This time is about this specific lizard man, one of the leaders of the tribes. And I know no one uses this character. I usually just find people using that character and as a level 10 or something to get an easy team on the arena. But in case there isn't someone wondering about this character and so, I have it right here. And I took a look at the character because I was curious about all the characters in the game. And it's a little bit interesting. Not much because he's just a rare character, but it's at least a little bit. Uh, and yeah, I'm gonna do a little guide about this character in case a low level player wants to use it. Because honestly, you're not gonna be able to give it a very good use at a high level. Like you want to use it level 90 and up, you're probably better with another character instead of this guy. First off, we see that the character is classified as a ranger, as a support, and debuff character. As you can see, I already have it 6 stars. You don't worry about these stars. This is a rare character. You're eventually gonna get it to 6 stars. Uh, the 4 and 6 star upgrade are not the best, not the worst. So we're gonna go into that in a little bit. I'm gonna explain the skills. I'm gonna talk about the accessories, what you could give to this character on the Orc department, and lastly, I'm gonna talk about the relics and the compositions you can play this character in. Okay, so the easy part, the accessories. As you can see, tier level 3, you obtain 10% critical chance. Tier level 6 of the accessories, you're gonna get 10% more attack, and tier 9, 15% more critical damage. Those are really good stats, honestly. Those are stats that you see on characters like Seshi or Metal Blade or something like that. Some of the best characters. And as you can see, now here on the basic attributes, you see that he has 3 Cs: 1 C on magical defense, 1 C on physical defense, and 1 C on HP or health, 1 B on speed, and 1 A on attack. This means this character is a glass cannon, or well, what it is known as a glass cannon. It means that it's very, very fragile, it's very easy to die. It's probably gonna be uh, the first member of your team to die if you don't protect him. But uh, as an exchange for being that fragile, it's probably gonna be able to put a lot of damage on the enemy team. That's why it has an A on attack, even being just a rare character. So from the get-go, we already know that this character cannot stand alone and needs some kind of work around him. Now, the skills, you see that it doesn't have an ultimate. It is not that I haven't upgraded the ultimate because usually it's here. This character doesn't have an ultimate. The rare characters don't have ultimate. As you can see, I just have the basic first level of the skills. And because I don't really use it, but I already have some gameplay with this, and I can tell you how it is useful. First off, the passive skill, bounce. Oh, sorry, the first skill is the basic attack, bounce. It's just gonna do certain amount of damage to the enemy based on the attack that it has. Max level 120%, level 1 100%. Now, the passive. That is the reason why I thought this character was a little bit interesting and could be useful in low and maybe mid levels. The Guardian Spirit. Protected by the ancestral spirits of the lizard men, all allies gain 20% effect precision and 20% effect resistance at level 2. And level 5, everyone on his team gains 35 effect precision and 35 effect resistance. This is really, really nice because early game, even mid game, you're not able to get a lot of good relics or prismatic relics. So you're probably trying to prioritize things like health for your tanks and defense, speed, damage, or critical chance for your rangers, things like that, right? You don't have really much space to put effect precision or effect resistance on your characters. And it is not a bad stat to have. So, why is this useful? because this character covers that for you. Like, as you can see, just level 1 is 20% effect precision, 20% effect resistance. Just by existing, the character doesn't need to throw a skill or anything. Just being on the battlefield, being alive, everyone obtains this buff. And it's very, very useful when we get to the composition part of this video, or the part where I tell you what kind of characters can be combined with this, because it really opens you a lot of things, a lot of possible mini combos. But now, the next skill and only skill of the character, the torrential barrage. The damage equal to certain amount of attack, and max level is equal to 96% of the attack of the character. It's gonna be even weaker than the basic attack in terms of damage. But the objective of this skill is not to do a lot of damage, but to put debuffs on the enemies. As you can see, when this character is 4 stars, it's gonna obtain a 35% basic chance to inflict defense down on the enemy for 2 rounds. And at 6 stars, that chance doubles up, so instead of 35, it's gonna be a 70%. Now, basic just on the character, at level 2, well, I mean on the skill, not the stars, at level 2, you obtain 70% basic chance to inflict effect precision down and effect resistance down for 2 rounds. Effect precision down lowers the effect precision by 45%, and effect resistance down lowers it by another 45%. Defense down, as we already said on other guides, decreases the enemy defense by 30%. This is really, really useful because if you have enemies that depend on effect precision or effect resistance, like for example, a character that kind of depends on effect resistance is Lupus Regina. It's this one. So you can throw, for example, mine has 88% effect resistance. If you throw that character and puts the debuff of effect resistance down on her, 45% of that is gone. As well as her max star upgrade gives effect resistance boost that exactly gives 45%. So imagine a Lupus Regina ults to give this buff to her team. You throw the torrential barrage of the Lizardman, you instantly nullify one ultimate effect with one normal skill effect from your Lizardman. That is a little bit wild when you think about it in that way. And there are other characters that really depend on effect precision, like this Lizardman. Mine doesn't have exactly the best effect precision, but it depends on the effect precision to be able to freeze the enemies, so he will be able to do more damage. Other characters that depend on effect precision are bleed team members, or at least some of them, like this, the tank of the bleed team composition. As you can see, has a lot. It has 88%. You take away 45% from the attack from the lizardman, you're good to go. Entoma, my Entoma has over 100%. So you can kind of like annoy a lot these kind of characters. Like for example, my Shizu has just 22%. Yeah, very low, but she gains another 50% on the first round. So you can kind of nullify those things a little bit. My Albedo, for example, has 90%. You take away 45% using the Lizardman, and you're throwing off the enemy ability to put debuffs on you. So that's the first thing to notice. You lower all the precision on the enemy. You lower the defense on the enemy. So if you have another damage dealer on your team, that character is going to be able to output even more damage that you're usually used to see. And because there is no ultimate, pues, there is no ultimate to explain. Uh, Now, relics, I have two specific recommendations, and let's see what the game recommends. I recommend you either Vermare or Desolation set. The game recommends Thunder or Desolation set. Thunder increases your attack and increases your damage when the target HP is above 40%. I will not recommend this one because when you get past the early game, this character is not really fast. So by the time this character gets a turn, if you have a good team, some of the enemies will be already at 40% HP. So that bonus attack or bonus damage is not going to apply. The selection said, yeah, I am in agreement with the game on that. Here, as we can see, The Desolation set, if you have all prismatic pieces, is gonna give you 30% effect precision, and you're gonna obtain 75 or 30 fixed chance to inflict a random damage over time effect on the target when you're dealing damage with a single target or area of effect skill. It's a 75% fixed chance when it's a single target attack, and it's only an increase of 30% more when you're using an area of effect. Like this skill of the torrential barrage, it's area of effect. So you're gonna obtain the 30% from the effect and the 30% from the set. So you have a 60% chance to inflict the debuffs on the enemy. 60% chance just there, and you have 70% chance. So you're obtaining over 100% basic chance plus whatever level you have in the skill on the passive that is going to give you another extra effect precision. So only characters that have a lot of effect resistance or that have immunities to debuffs will be able to resist this attack in terms of receiving the debuffs. But the damage is not gonna be that high because the isolation set doesn't increase your attack or your critical chance or anything like that. And the other set that I recommend you is Bermare. Bermare gives you critical chance, and it gives you another percentage of a fixed chance to reduce the skill cooldown by 1 round after you use the skill. Why Bermare? Well, Bermare because this character only has one skill and has a 2 round cooldown. The character has B on speed, so the character is not fast. It's a little bit slow. It's like mediocre. It's not the fastest, it's not the slowest. So, if you can have Bermare, you're gonna throw the Torrential Barrage, the only skill of the character in the first turn that you get with him. If you get lucky, this set is gonna activate. It's gonna reduce 1 round of the cooldown, and by the time that your character gets the second turn, you're gonna have this skill again because when the character gets his second turn, 1 round of his cooldowns gets reduced. So you already reduced the 2 rounds from the skill. So you can use the skill again. You can use the skill 2 times in a row. But if you don't get lucky, well, you will have to wait the second turn, throw a normal attack, and then you can use the skill again. But I will recommend you that so you can keep up putting the pressure on the enemy. Because maybe you put the debuffs on the enemy, but the enemy gets a turn and then purify themselves, something like that. So try. I will use Bermare to try and get as much cooldown reduction as possible, so I can constantly put the debuffs on the enemy so they don't run out. Or even if the enemy purifies the debuffs, I will just be able to put it again on them. So I will constantly keep the enemy with disadvantages. So other characters that do more damage when the enemy has a debuff or something like that, will be able to capitalize on that. And the solution set, well, because it gives you effect precision, so this character already has an increment on the effect precision because of his passive. Already throws 3 different debuffs on the enemy. So if already throws 3, may as well throw 4 or throw 5, because I will have the chance with this set to put either burn, shock, or bleed on the enemy when I attack them. And because it's an area of effect skill, maybe you get lucky and you put 1 debuff on every enemy. You can put burn on 2 enemies, bleed on one, and shock on another one. So you're already putting even more things on the enemy to keep them under pressure or keep them occupied using their healings instead of attacking you, things like that. Now, if you want to use termination and use this character like a full glass cannon, you go termination. I would recommend you to go full critical chance and critical damage. That way, you're gonna be able to pull off that character potential or all the potential to do as much damage as possible that our character gives you. But I will not recommend it that much because, as we saw, this character is more like a mini support. So you're not having this character to do massive damage, but you have it on your team, so it helps your other characters to either resist enemy effects or do massive damage on the enemy by putting more effects on the enemies, debuffs in this case, like defense down, so the attacks of your allies will do more damage because the enemy has a decrease on their defense for 30%. Now, if you choose Desolation over Mare set, now I have a placeholder. Like this set that I have here is just a placeholder because, as you saw, my character here is just like level 14, something like that. All my good relics are on other characters like Nigredo or my Tank Albedo, my SSR Entoma, something like that, right? Maybe even my Mate Albedo, my Idol Shelter, some those characters. So I have a placeholder, but I still try to put a little bit of what you could get on the early levels. Like for example, this is giving effect precision and critical chance, and effect resistance if I upgrade more. That is what the character gives. Remember, the accessories give you crit, and the passive gives you effect precision and effect resistance. So if you put that in a relic, you're boosting that even more. So you boost it, you're still playing on the strong side of the character, and the 4-1 can be whatever the game gives you. Like for example, to me, the game gave me reduction to the damage over time. Here I have the character with health, effect precision, magical defense, and critical chance. Health, well, it's never bad because that way the character is harder to kill. Magical defense, the same because this character is very poor on all the defense. Effect precision, you're playing on the strong side of this character. And critical chance. Why? Well, because the accessories already give you 10%. So if you can give like another 50%, maybe 60% crit because of the relics, you could constantly have a character that not only works as a support to your team but also adds a little bit of damage. So you're still having some damage in a turn where you otherwise will do nothing but put debuffs. Here on the weapon, I have critical damage, effect precision as the only useful ones. And here, as you can see, crit and attack. Crit and attack. A good example that I could give you on what to use on that character could be, for example, let me find, will be her. My, in this case, if you're going for a critical chance attack or approach, what I have on my pretty little Lentoma, I have critical chance, I have speed, I have effect resistance. All of that plays into the character. More critical chance, more attack, more speed, a little bit of defense. Critical damage, critical chance, attack, defense, damage boost, speed, attack, effect resistance. As you can see, almost everything is offensive stats. Or if you want to go for another approach that is more effect precision based and attack, like plain attack instead of critical chance, what my mage Albedo has. It has, for example, effect precision and attack here. It has here speed, effect precision, and attack. It has effect precision, damage boost, health, or well, HP, and speed. And here, effect resistance, effect precision, speed, and attack. Like, this is good. Like, if you don't like going critical chance, this relic that you see here, the Thunder Base, uh, these sub attributes is the ideal for the Lizardman. Effect resistance and effect precision because that boosts the passive skill, the passive effects that the passive gives you. So you're playing into the strong side of the character. Speed, so the character doesn't fall behind and never gets a turn on a fight on the arena or something like that. So the character can keep up a little bit. And attack, because that's the best basic stat or basic attribute that the character has. So yeah, try to prioritize that. Effect resistance, effect precision, speed, and attack. If you want a specific order of how and what to prioritize, I will say your first place, it's a draw between attack and effect precision. The second place, try to give him speed, and in the third place, effect resistance. Because most enemies do damage, but based on either plain attack or critical hits. Effect resistance is not really gonna help you that much, but still nice to have. So when a shock team member attacks you, you actually don't get shocked. Something like on things like that. Like bleed, bleed team characters will not be able to put bleed on you that easily, and so same for the burn team characters, like the Murge, for example. So yeah, try to go attack and effect precision on pair, then speed and effect resistance. If you want to go critical chance instead of that, you could ignore the effect resistance a little bit instead of critical chance, and instead of attack, you could put there critical damage. So the examples I gave you with my Albedo and my Entoma relics are what I would recommend to you specifically if you want to upgrade that Lizardman. Now, the Lizardman doesn't have awakening levels because it's a rare character. They don't have access to this, so we're gonna ignore this part. In case that you wonder, uh, or you say, "Ah, why my Lizardman doesn't have this section?" Well, it's because they don't have it. Those characters do not have it. Now, the enchantments. Honestly, there's no much that I could recommend you on that specific character, on the Lizardman. Uh, my best example to what you could use on the enchantments for the relics will be what I have on my Nigredo, and just on some sections, not on all the enchantments. The one that I will recommend you the most will be this one, Unearing Shot, that it gives you effect precision and speed. Like, let me see at level 1 what is the increase. Level 1 it gives you just 2.4% effect precision. I would recommend you to get it at least to level 6. Level 6 will give you 18.4% more effect precision and 4 points on speed. That is very, very good. Remember, this character is based on putting debuffs on the enemies. So the more effect precision, the better. And the more speed, the faster this character can play and put the debuffs. And if you can, for example, like I did here, I achieved the level 10 attribute with my Nigredo, you're gonna get 40% effect precision and 10 speed. Like, just imagine that is 40% effect precision plus the 35 that you can get from the passive, that is 75. Then you can get another 30 from Desolation set, that is over 100%. And then you can get even more effect precision because of the relics on this section of the relics, then you're increasing it even more, and then you're gaining speed with these enchantments equal with the effect precision. And then when you attack with a isolation set, you have another extra 75 or 30% chance, depending on the kind of attack you're doing, to put a debuff on the enemy, a damage over time debuff. So you're basically guaranteed that you're gonna be putting all the debuffs on the enemies. The only way the enemies are not gonna be able to get the debuffs is because they are invincible, invulnerable, or because they have debuff immunity. But very few characters can do that. So you're not gonna be able to. You're not gonna have to worry about that because when you face those kind of characters, you're probably not gonna be able to use the lizard man on that composition, so in that composition anymore. Then, as the rest of the enchantments, if you're going critical damage with that character, punch for punch, it's gonna give you crit, and from level 6 and on, it's gonna give you damage boost. If you're not gonna go in critical damage with just plain attack, then Blade Drown is gonna give you more attack on a plain amount, and level 6 and more is gonna give you attack on plain numbers, and then an increase on percentage. So I will recommend you Unearing Shot for the effect precision and the speed. Then depending on what you're going for, if you're going crit or you're going attack, either it will be punch or blade round. And if you can spare or have more enchantments, I recommend you Endless Cycle. So you give the character HP. That way a Momon doesn't just ult your character and kills you and resets and goes for another of your team. So that will be for the relics, the enchantments as well as the skill, the accessories. Now the arc light. As you can see, I just have a generic one, so there's nothing special here or anything like that. But I can go here and to replace, and I have a variety of arc lights to use. So in this case, something like boost morale is really good for rangers, but not for this one because it's based on the character doing assist, chases, or counters. This character doesn't do any of that. So I will go more for something like Terribly Sorry or the Picnic. The Picnic uh, gives you attack, HP, and critical chance. So if you're going critical with this character, you can use this. And each crit hit, that means each time you successfully land a critical hit on the enemy, allows active skills to deal extra damage equal to certain amount of attack depending on the stars that you have the arc light. 60% at 1 star in my case is that one. So imagine you throw the torrential barrage to the enemy. That means the area of effect skill. You hit the 4 enemies, and maybe you do a critical hit on 3 of them. So you're gonna be able to do extra damage on those 3 enemies. So you're still dealing damage while using a support. That is classified as a ranger. That is a damage dealer. That is a little bit contradictory, I know, but that is how the character is. And terribly sorry, also works for if you're going a critical chance, critical damage. Also works, yes, because instead of giving you more critical chance, it increases your critical damage. And the effect that it gives you start enter stealth. That means the character is like transparent, is invisible at the start of the game. For 1 round, upon entering battle and taking action, that means that after the character does his first turn, his first action of attack is also gonna go invisible and increases the critical chance by, in my case, 28% in the action where stealth is cancelled. That means that when your character is invisible, the attack that it gives just after going invisible is gonna have increased critical chance. So those two arc lights, if you have them, are general effects. You can give it to that character if you're gonna upgrade it, and it's gonna be such an increase on damage. And you can see as well in power, like for example, it has 7k power. I'm gonna replace it with just with this one, just as an example. And now it has 9k power. Like that is a really, really powerful increase. And also you can use winning strike if you don't want to use an SSR or legendary arclight and you want to use lower classes one, you can use winning strike. It gives you critical chance as well, I know, but also gives you attack. And the effect that each critical hit grants, in my case, because it's 6 stars, 100% fixed chance to trigger burn, bleed, or shock randomly on the target. In lower cases of stars, like 1 or 2 stars, it's gonna be, I think, like 50%. So you still have a lot of chance to use that. And the arc light, or well, the recommendation on the arc light gives or leads me to the next point: the characters and compositions. Now, as we saw, this character is kind of like support. So this means that the character helps another that are dependent or heavily dependent on the effect resistance or effect precision. First off, that you can make combination with this lizard man is Lupus Regina. She is a character that you get very early in the game. You get her for free. I think her Arclight you also get it for free, and she's very useful to give effect resistance to her team. So her team is harder to inflict with shock, bleed, stuns, towns, silences, or burns. She's very good at protecting from negative effects. So if you have her and that lizardman, you're giving all of your other members on their team extra effect resistance because she can give 45% with her ultimate, and the lizardman can give you another 35% at max level the skill. At low level at 20%, it's still good 20%. Also, you could combine that lizardman with other players for an early game team when you're not using the SSR characters. Like the extra effect precision that the Lizardman gives you could help characters like Cizeta that are able to put bleed on the enemy with her attacks, are also able to help Yuri that she has an stun on the ultimate. So the more effect precision she has, the more chances she has to effectively stun the enemy. Or a normal solution, the original one. The more effect precision she has, the more probable that she is gonna be able to take away the buffs from the enemies, and the more likely she's gonna be able to successfully silence the enemies when she ults. So yeah, you can use that character to boost certain aspects of the Pleiades. Like for example, Narvel. Narvel, uh, mine has very low AP, but she is kind of dependent on effect precision because she puts shock on the enemy and she does extra damage to enemies that have shock. So you need to have effect precision to be able to put the shock debuff on the enemies. So that character with her, that means that he can increase from 20 to 35% her effect precision, and that is a stat that you could ignore a little bit on the relics instead of others, like for example attack, critical chance, or damage boost, or speed. So it also helps this one. Other one, Entoma. Let me find her here. She is a character that is able to put bleed and shock on the same attacks. If you put a desolation set on her, like for example, I have right here, Sparkle Desolation. Normally, by her skill set, her second skill puts shock and her first skill puts bleed. So you can combine her in any of those teams and put that Lizardman to increase her effect precision in case that you don't want to focus that on Entoma. Like, if you want Entoma to be a powerhouse, if you want her to hit as hard as possible, then you're gonna be able to increase attack and speed of Entoma as well as things like damage boost as much as you can, and put a isolation set on her so she gains effect precision just by the set, plus an extra when she attacks because of the set as well, and then an extra from the Lizardman. You could ignore effect precision as a stat on her relics in favor of more offensive stats or attributes if you put the Lizardman with her. So she can deal more damage without worrying in not being able to inflict bleed or shock on the enemy. Characters like this Lupus Regina as well, the limited one. She, if you don't have her, if you don't have another character that is gonna be able to put bleed before her, like for example, in my case, Yaldabot is the one I could depend on putting bleed on the enemy before my Lupus Regina strikes. But if you don't have other bleed members and you have just her or just Disco Kyotos, you could use that character, the Lizardman, to increase the effect precision of Cocytus or Lupus Regina, so they're able to put bleed and punish the enemy more often because they do extra damage to enemies with bleed. Also, characters like the meta tanks, this means these two, that effectively put down on the enemy, put defense down, high tier defense down on the enemy, stun the enemy. They need effect precision to be able to put those effects. So that Lizardman with these characters on early mid levels, you can pull it off. Others will be, for example, Tank Albedo and Normal Albedo or Mage Albedo. This one. She puts burn on the enemy, she puts damage aggravation on the enemy, she puts healing block or healing reduction on the enemy. That needs effect precision. And the Tank Albedo puts taunt on the enemy with both her Arc Light effect and her ultimate. So the more effect precision she has, the more chances that Albedo has to taunt all the enemy team in a single hit from her ultimate. So those characters benefit a lot. And effect resistance is gonna benefit everyone a little bit. Like it's not gonna be the same for Mate Albedo that for Tank Albedo. So the effect resistance that the Lizardman gives benefits more healers and tanks, but still helps because your tank will be able to resist more effects. That means that the tank gets less exhausted, less damaged, so your healers will be able to focus on your ranger, on your mage characters instead of healing the tanks and wasting some special effects like Pestonia Silence or things like that, or Albedo increase on critical damage. Like shit that has Aeon effect precision as well, or Shelter that has a lot of HP, S on HP, the tank Cocytus, another with S on HP. All of these characters will benefit from effect resistance. So you could combine the Lizardman with any tank that you want that puts effects like Taunt or Yuri that puts a stun or these ones that put Taunt or high tier defense down. You can combine it with any Bleed team member either from early game like the Pleiades or from late game like the Lupus Regina or Yaldabaoth. You can also put it with healers like Pandora Sactor and Pestonia, so they're able to resist more effects. stay longer on the battlefield, and be able to heal more. You can also put it with uh, shock, bleed, and burn team members. Like Demiurge and Albedo are from the burn team. Entoma, Lupus Regina, Kokiotos, uh, SR, Cicita, the Vampire Bride, the Dead Knight, all of them are from the bleed team. You can also have tanks like Yuri to stun more effectively. And in any play because solution is silences and strips the buffs from the enemies. Narveral and Nave put shock on the enemy, so you can combine Talisman with shock team members in a way that they will be able to put more shock or put shock more easily. And as well, the last team that you could use will be a full Lizardman team. You could use this character as your tank. It puts taunt on the enemy, so the more effect precision this character has, the more likely he's gonna be able to taunt the enemy with the ultimate. The more effect precision the Lizardman with the slingshot gives, the more likely Sarius is gonna be able to freeze the enemy and get cooldown reduction when he attacks enemies under control effects. So you could also combine Sukyu, that is the one we're talking about right now, with Kyuku. Sorry, with this guy because this character puts shock and healing reduction on the enemy. This character also benefits from enemies' deaths, increasing his own attack and damage deal. So when this character is on early game and you kill one or two goblins before the troll or so, this character will have increased damage and increased chances of putting shock and all of that because of this lizardman. So you have a variety of characters to use. Just remember to increase the effect precision, the attack, and the speed. In my case, I put just a little bit of everything. You can see I have crit, I have effect precision, I have attack, I have a little bit of defensive stats like HP and so. So you really have a lot of chances or options to combine the characters. On high level, it's not gonna be able to be useful because it's probably gonna get deleted by a Seshi ultimate or something like that. But early mid game can be really useful for you. So if you were planning or were curious about the character, now you know what can be combined with him, what kind of things he offers. The only thing is that if you actually play him, you go to the arena and use him, you're probably not gonna be able to notice the the things that this character gives to his team because everything is passive. This character is not gonna throw a big attack that is gonna destroy the enemy or something like that. But you're gonna be able to see when he attacks that the enemy will have from 1 to 3 debuffs, or if has the solution set, it could be from 1 to 5 new debuffs just from this character attack. And of course, you're not gonna be able to see something like Tank Albedo taunting the enemy because of this character. You're gonna be you're just gonna be seeing Albedo attacking, and then the enemies are gonna be taunted. But part of why the taunt was successful, it could be because of this character increasing the effect precision that could be able to surpass the enemy's effect resistance. So yeah, those are the characters. I already have a little bit of gameplay with this character on the arena mode and a little bit on the bosses of the map, showing you the lizardman team and things like that. So yeah, you could you're gonna be able to see it if you want, because it's the next video I'm gonna upload after this one. I'm gonna put the videos together and upload them. I'm gonna be showing you a lizardman team. I'm gonna be showing you one or two variations of the control team. That means characters that stun, that freeze, that silence the enemy, things like that. So the enemies don't have a turn, or when they have a turn, they're not gonna be able to do anything more than a basic attack. And maybe I can put it there some shock or some bleed team. I don't know, but I think to keep it short, I'm gonna be using the ones that I told you first. And you can, if you want, experiment with any other character. Like, for example, my Entoma with this character are not gonna be able to showcase the upgrade because my Entoma already has more than 100% effect precision and already has a desolation set that gives her even more. So when she attacks, she's always gonna be putting the shock or the bleed on the enemies, and you're not gonna be able to notice the difference even if I take the lizardman out of her sight. But if you have her and you have her low level, or she has like 20% effect precision, something like that, and you put this lizardman with just the passive level 2, you're gonna be able to see how Endoma is able to effectively put the debuffs more often than usual, at least on your gameplay. So yeah, I'm gonna give you a little bit of examples after this video. This is just the theoretical part for for example, right? The the teams that I gave you, the relics and so. But now the next video on the arena, you're gonna be able to see it on battle. And just taking in consideration what I told you, he's not a flashy character. He's not a Seshi. He's not a big team that explodes and kills everyone. No, no. Mostly this character is just gonna stand there, gonna is trying not to die, because the best benefit of this character is just being alive. So his passive affects his allies, and uh, getting just one turn to throw the torrential barrage, so the enemies have debuffs. So this character is not very visual, but I hope you can see what it apports, what it gives to the team if you use it. That will be all. Thanks for watching. Next guide, I think it's gonna be Tanksisita, because I already have the footage for her. I already have her on gameplay from my victim guide and all of that. But I was released it as was gonna record the guide and post it the same day into this guide about Sukyu. But the hours that I have designated for me to record and so had been changed, because when I logged it in the game, I had other things that popped up in the real life. I had to do them, and then I'm running out of time. So yeah, if I don't post the Tank Sisita guide today, it's gonna be tomorrow. So it's either way gonna be very very soon. And then another guide that is gonna be very soon is at this moment. I don't really know how soon, because I still don't have his arc light, but I'm gonna try to make it soon. And if you have any request about any other character that I haven't made a guide yet, you can ask me in the comments. Um, and I will try. Like for example, I haven't done of any of these characters are on screen. I have only made a guide about the Hanuske, the big team, Seshi, about the limited Lupus Regina, about Sariusu, Kyoku, about Yuri, about Solution, the SR versions, about Lupus Regina, about uh, Nave, the one with the cloak, and about Peshurian as well. Yeah. And now this guy, no? Right, Sukyu. So if you have uh, a request about any of the other characters that you saw here, like I don't know, Healer Marit that no one uses, or about Yeldabaoth, or Pandora's Act, or something like that, you can ask me, and I will throw the guide when I get time. But usually, I always post at least one guide every Friday, so you're gonna be able to have a pretty good chance that whatever you request is gonna be able to be next Friday at the very very least. So yeah, that's all for me. Thanks for watching and all of that.